The rhubarb we transplanted a couple of weeks ago sure has taken off with all this nice rain we've had the last few days. It's looking really good. It took hold and it's coming in. It's going to grow really well this year. The hosta we transplanted a couple of weeks ago sure are looking good. They're coming right in. Got those moved at just the right time. We got a lot of nice rain the last few days and they have really taken off along with the ones we planted in the other section. I think they are going to look so much better this year having been thinned. Let's show everybody the process we went through to get them thinned out and transplanted and have them look the way they do today. Let's get started. Well, have you seen the temperature now?
No, what is it?
It's 78 degrees.
Oh my gosh.
Not a cloud in the sky.
It's a beautiful day.
Well, this is a beautiful, yesterday was beautiful. We got a lot of work done, but I figured things would really start to grow. Maybe we ought to take a look at the hostas and the rhubarb and see how that's coming.
Oh, that sounds like
they're getting pretty crowded. And
yeah.
We're going to move them. We got to do it this spring. So let's take a look.
Sounds like a plan.
Look at that. That rhubarb has got to be moved today. Well, it looks like the hostas are starting to pop up. Yep. They are thick. We've got to get those moved this year. At least for now, we don't have a new home for the hostas permanently, but we'll have to put them in this little patch we set aside for flowers and a few of the herbs we want to plant. And rhubarb's right here. I guess we'll plant the rhubarb over on this end of the patch, and then it's easy to get to once that grass grows back in after I get the rhubarb out. So I better go get the tiller and get that thing tilled up. It's about time we got moving on this stuff. So what do you say?
Let's get started.
Well, just as always, like it has for the last 24 years, the old Troy-Bilt did a nice job. This soil is just perfect after we conditioned it last fall. Now, I'll just smooth it out a little bit, and then we'll make some marks for our plants before we dig them out. Now we need to mark. Now, rhubarb gets to be about 3 to 4 feet in diameter. So that means you've got about 2 feet on either side of the stem that you have to make an allowance for. So we want to be able to pick it. So let's just precisely measure with my feet. About 2 feet in this way. And about 2 feet this way. Look at that. It's almost like I've done this before. There's hole number 1. Now I will continue to mark holes about 2 feet apart. Okay. Next step, we got to start taking these plants out. They've been in here several years now, and at least every 10 years you need to dig rhubarb plants out and divide them. And these haven't been doing well about the last 2 years. That's why we're going to transplant them. I'm going to work my way around with a shovel. Now, if these were a little more along, we'd be fighting with the stems. Don't want to do that. We want to get this early in the spring before we start getting rains, and we expect to get some rain later in the week. So I want to get this done. Work your way around so you can free up that root ball. Now sometimes they talk about dividing it in the ground and then digging it out, but these haven't really gotten very far along yet. You can see I got the root ball out pretty clean. So I'm going to knock some of the dirt off so I can see what I've got here. And you notice, if you're careful, you can start pulling the roots apart without even chopping them. So there I've got a set of roots. Looks like I've got a couple sets of roots that I can transplant over there. Divide this one up, get the sod off. You can see I've got two plants right here. Easy to see how to divide them. And there you go. Now this one's pretty small. I may not transplant that. I'm going to see how many good sized plants I get out of this before I use the really small ones. But right here I've got 3 pretty good sized root balls that I'm going to start with. Okay, I'm going to continue this process with the rest of these plants. And once they're divided, we'll get them planted. Okay, we ended up with 11 really good plants, root sets. We have a few extra. We're going to see if we know some people that could use some a little bit smaller to get some rhubarb started. Next part's pretty easy. Got to gauge how big your root ball is. Loosen up the soil around there. Now I could put compost in, but this has still got so much natural dirt around it from the garden. It's all coming from the same place that I'm just going to go with that. So there's one. I'll back up here, and here's another really good root. Good size. Now I'm going to not make the hole deeper. I'm just going to loosen up the soil underneath the roots before I set it in. Get that standing up. Loosely push some dirt around there. Both of them, set it in. There. 9 more plants and they'll be set. And then we'll put some water on there, soak them in good for a couple days before we get a good rain. And we should have some fresh rhubarb. Probably won't be able to harvest this year, but next year. But that's how you do it. Well, there you have it. 11 plants planted. The bigger sets of roots. Ground is evened out. We got them all watered in. Now we just wait and see how they do. Now it's time to move the hostas. As you can see, I've already dug a few of them out. We have a couple different varieties of hostas here around the back side of the house. I've split some up, put the roots with all the dirt intact around them over there. After I split them, I'm leaving a couple of plants behind that we will replant in this section so they're separated. What I'll show you now in detail is how to work a plant loose and get it split. We're going to go over here, and we've got some really bad ones of this variety, so let's take a look at the process. All right, I've already started digging out this massive hosta that's growing in here next to St. Francis of Assisi, protector of animals. We are going to divide this up along with a couple stuck back here by the wall. This has been completely overgrown, choking itself out. When I'm done, we're going to have 3 plants in here spread out and start over with fresh roots. Now, the best time to do this, they say, is in the fall. Second best time is the spring. I had to wait till they came up enough so I could see what I had for plants. And now I'm going to divide it up. I've already taken some out, and it's really easy. You get underneath the roots with your shovel, good sharp pointed spade. And just like that, the roots are up. They're pretty close to the surface. I'm going to divide this plant with my shovel, and that's all there is to it. Take it. I'm going to put it in the wheelbarrow to take to our transplant area. I'm going to dig up the rest of these, and we'll come back in a little while and show you how to get them planted. So we've got this side done, and we already took out a wheelbarrow load of roots. Give you some idea of how ingrown this was. We've got left here about half a dozen plants. A couple we left, a couple we transplanted, got them watered in really well. What you see here on the sidewalk is what we took out of this small corner. And we had the last couple of years fight with this, trying to mow, trying to work around here. It had the sidewalk crowded out. You really need to split these up periodically, and we got a little behind. So what I did was I dug them out. I put a wheelbarrow of dirt in here to make up for the roots I took out. I had to contour it back up into the hill. And just warn you, do a project like this, of this magnitude, you're probably going to want to have some black dirt on hand. For me, it's not a problem. Sometimes I get a truckload. Sometimes I just take my big old Super Duty into town and get a half a yard of black dirt, and I've always got a pile on hand, and I keep it composted. So anyway, you may not have that big of a need. So I filled this in with dirt, got it leveled up, compacted a little bit. We decided we want 4 plants in here. We're going to do one of the green ones in the corner and the purple ones on the edge. So I'm going to just demonstrate planting a hosta. I have it divided up. I split the root up, dug this out, just took the shovel and sheared it. Got a hole ready. Don't want it too deep. You want, the crown up here exposed. So now I'm just going to very carefully take some of this loose soil. I guess I need to go just a little deeper here. There. And we'll see how we're doing in relation to the sidewalk. I think pretty well. Oh, just a second. I'll grab my trowel. Now, looking at where it's sitting, I think I need to come this way a little bit, but you can adjust that. As you go, you can eyeball this. It's nothing too precise, or you don't have to be that careful with these. Because hostas are essentially a weed that we find to be aesthetically pleasing. They grow very well, as you can see. Just a little fertilizer, you get a little sun and water, and they grow like crazy. All right. There you have it. One's planted. I'm going to plant these other 3. We're going to water it in, and then we're going to take this leftover stuff to a temporary transplant area. We're offering these to some of the people we know in case they need some hosta plants. And I don't know what we'll do with the rest, but that's the process of splitting up and moving hostas. And there they are, the transplanted hosta plants, temporary planting in a couple of trenches up here in our little overflow garden area. And there we have the final planting, all watered in. Hostas on the corner. The hostas over here by the deck, by the stairs. Wow, that was a day's work.
Certainly
But
was.
boy, you couldn't have a better day. 80 degrees, breeze, fresh air. But we have to also pass on one last important step. To make everything grow, you need to finish the day with a nice big bar burger, a few fries, and a nice Barsteiner Dunkel.
Or a cold beverage.
Or Prost.
Prost.
Happy gardening.